It is Monday afternoon, East Lansing, Michigan. Come on in, gather around, gather around, gather around. Not the usual time, not the usual day to do this nonsense, but it's a good time. Usual time, not the usual day to do this nonsense, but it's a good time. Anytime to talk Michigan State sports. I told you guys, I don't know, a week and a half ago that I would try to do SpartanMag live at a remote location around that July 4th holiday. Was trying to do it, but it was basically like a lakefront type of situation, and there was a lot of wind, and I didn't have a wind guard on this little thing right there, so I couldn't do it. But we've got your questions from a couple of weeks ago. A lot of those still have some good shelf life. We will get to 3 of those today, 3 and out, and we'll get done. I didn't promote this last night, the day before, so a lot of Spartan Maggers are not aware we're doing it right now. But come on in, gather around. If you have some questions, we will entertain those. We have 3 questions, 3 and out. We're going to do it that way. But first of all, a little bit of news. Looks like Jordan Scott, basketball recruit. Michigan State's been recruiting for a long time. It's down to 3. It's going to take 3 official visits. Michigan State's going to be one of them. 6'5", small forward. Might be up to about 6'6" now. Continues to grow. Ranked number 73 player in the country. It's Michigan State, Virginia Tech, and Maryland. He'll take official visits to Maryland and Virginia Tech in September. Look for Michigan State to get a visit somewhere around there. He's a guy, Michigan State's been recruiting several players in this class, and he's a guy that I always kind of thought Michigan State might have the best shot at. And there'll be some others also. But number 73 in the country, Michigan State showed him a lot of attention throughout. Michigan State contacted him the first day that contact was allowed back June 15th of last year. And Izzo has visited his school. Wojcik visited his school back in January. He's taken an unofficial visit to Michigan State in the past. Very good shooter, versatile, can play some point forward, can go inside a little bit. He wants to work on getting bigger and stronger. Excellent shooter. So that's some news there with Jordan Scott. Meanwhile, Michigan State is going to has some other visits scheduled. Let me see the rundown on those. There'll be more added to this. Jalen Harrelson, official visit to Michigan State September 14th. Also Indiana, Notre Dame before he visits Michigan State. Trenton Sisley, 6'7", out of Santa Claus, Indiana. Going to go to high school basketball this year. At Montverde down in Florida, Michigan State official visit in October. Also in September, he will visit Notre Dame, Indiana, Purdue. Indiana native, visiting the 3 big schools in-state and Michigan State as well. Nico Bundulo out of Ohio, 6'11", official visit at Michigan State September 6th, and also UConn August 30th. It's going to be a tough battle for him, but those are some that are scheduled at this point. But keep an eye also, Jordan Scott, that one will be scheduled soon, I would imagine. 3 questions, and we'll get in and out of this thing. We appreciate everybody checking in. Spartan Mag Live. Once again, let me make sure that people can hear what's going on. Over the comments area, looks like audio is working, so let's get rolling. Not going to keep it very long today. And we look to have some new announcements with Spartan Mag Live coming up soon. Still want to get the old microphone going. This one's not as good, but hopefully the audio is better than it was last time. We appreciate all the patience and all the subscribers. Question number 1, Ernie from sunny Colorado. He says, hey, Jim, hope your summer is going well. Secondly, I hope that your summer is going well and everyone around the country, those of you in Texas and those of you that have been in the Caribbean. If you're affected by the hurricane, we're thinking about you. We got Nils. He's out in Houston. Hope he's doing well. As far as the holiday, hope everybody had a great holiday. I had a great holiday, July 1st and July 4th. July 1st is Canada Day. I was up there for that. Great to be in the Great Lakes region for July 4th week and weekend as it were, and it was great. Hope everybody's doing great. Ernie in sunny Colorado says, Jim, I'm hoping to hear more about, this is a little bit of an offbeat question going back a few months. He says, I'm hoping to hear more about Jonathan Smith's hiring process. Could you provide more insight into what you were hearing back in the fall and how his hiring came together? It seemed like a lot of names were thrown around before Alan Haller landed on Coach Smith. He also has a question about defensive line recruiting. We will get to that later with another question that someone else posted. Real quickly, Jonathan Smith, within the industry, Smith's people and Michigan State's people, including Alan Heller and the people that he hired to help with the search, they were aware that there was mutual interest, and there was a broad spectrum of candidates that Alan Heller was looking at to put together a current, the primary list and others. He did a lot of research there, as did the search firm. But when it became known that, and Michigan State realized through their people, and Jonathan Smith's people, and Mike Elko's people, who were a lot of the same people, when it became known that there was mutual interest, it didn't take long for Jonathan Smith and Mike Elko to become the main guys there at Michigan. When Michigan State realized that they were both extremely interested. And don't believe what you hear about Mike Elko not being interested when he was at Duke and some of the things he said on SportsCenter. He was interested. And when Michigan State found out that those two were interested, they quickly were at the top of the list. And it didn't, I never detected that it went much farther back then in that particular theater. There were other candidates that they looked at. And, of course, the Urban Meyer thing came up. And still pieced together information on there. There was a lot of disinformation. But when Smith became known how serious Smith was, it became a no-brainer. Elko would have been a great one also. But Smith, tremendous fit. And it didn't have to go much further than those two. Question 2, Marlowe. It's 3 and out. We're going 3 questions and out of here. Question 2, Marlowe in Grand Blanc, Michigan. Great to hear from Marlowe again. Also, in the meantime, give us a like here on the channel. Go over to SpartanMag.com. Become a subscriber. $1. Try it out for a month over at SpartanMag.com. We got a story, I think it's from Tipton, from On3, about Jordan Scott. Just an overview of what he says about Virginia Tech, Maryland, and Michigan State. Go there, check that out. $1, 1 month. Also, Jason Killip providing great analysis. Michigan State recruiting, continuing recruiting coverage every single day. Killip has analysis today of June recruiting visit period for Michigan State, how Michigan State did, and what's next, with a rundown of every player that visited in the month of June, where they stand now, have they committed elsewhere, did they commit to Michigan State, are they still on the radar, where are they trending, go there, check that out, $1, SpartanMag.com, you will like it. Also, our in-depth depth chart projection series continues today. Today we looked at the right guard position for Michigan State and Luke Newman and what Jonathan Smith has at the right guard position. Jim Mahalchik, Michigan State's offensive line coach, I asked him a couple weeks ago about Luke Newman, where he might be fitting in, and they anticipated right guard. That might be subject to change. Mahalchik has been guarded about giving out many comments about players, as have some of the other assistant coaches. Understandable this year number 1. So, hey, we take a deep dive, talk to them a little bit, but also I trusted my eyes, looked at film. We actually look at actual film of Luke Newman against Boston College. I did. I looked at the film. You can call it a film study if you want, but and I talked about what he did specifically against the Boston College players and where I think he fits. And I think Luke Newman's pretty good, but go over there and check that out. Right guard, we're looking at the depth chart at that position today. The entire series, we look at Michigan State's entire depth chart and who's coming back, what they've done. We look at the spring showcase scrimmage, and I looked at every play of the scrimmage at least 22 times because I'm looking at all 22 positions, every play, and trying for you guys to gain some working insight and knowledge into what's going on at the various positions, not just the starters, but second string, third string, walk-on, the whole thing. And those of you that are sick about Michigan State football, it's great to hear from you. I know that you like that type of coverage. It's not for everybody. Spartan Mag is not for everybody. It's for the beautiful people, the big fans, the astute fans, the people that want more Michigan State and college football knowledge. Go to SpartanMag.com, check it out. On Wednesday, we will be dropping our story about the center position, and that'll complete the offensive line position by position. And on Friday, we will be dropping tight ends, taking a look at Jack Velling and the rest of the depth chart there. And as we profile the depth chart heading toward Michigan State's 2024 football season, what we want to do is get the fans reacquainted with these names. A lot of new names in the program. Get you reacquainted with the names and their capabilities. And we're not going to come out here and say that everybody's the next great player. We try to keep it real with as much input as we can get. And that continues as we move on. Question number 2, Marlo in Grand Blanc. He says, I see the first week of Moneyball has happened. Moneyball is the summer league over at Holt High School. Let's see, make sure that the sound on this is off. Yeah, it's off. There's some Moneyball highlights right there. You can check it out. Marlo asks, any thoughts or good first impressions that you and Paul have on this year's team? Konerdijk was out there last week, wrote a couple articles, and I was there for the first day. I'll be going back out there again tomorrow on Tuesday to get some more insight and some more opinions on things. Jeremy Fears was the big story last week playing, and probably I should have some film of him tomorrow. If he plays, he may not, but he's kind of an addition to one of the rosters, but I imagine that they would make room for him if he wanted to play more. However, NCAA rules, you're only allowed 2 Michigan State players, or 2 players from a college team on each roster, and he checked in, I think, for Jaden Akins. So he'll probably check in for other players at other times if players can't make it. I wouldn't be surprised if he jumps teams a little bit. Would they allow that? I'm not sure. Probably not, because they do keep standings and so forth. But Fears looks like he's on schedule. Does he have all of his horsepower back? Still working on it. During his first year at Michigan State, really hit the weight room pretty good. He's solid. He always had some solid mass to him. Now even more. Konerdijk wrote an article about him, said his passing was really good. You know, when we last saw him in March, when the basketball season was ending, he was just starting to do layup line stuff. And you'd see him shoot during practice. And the lift on his elevation on his jump shot was only just a couple of inches. He was just scratching the surface, coming back slowly. He's got more elevation with his jump shot now. He's never been a high riser, leaper guy anyway, but he's going to need all of that horsepower back. I'll take a look at him on Tuesday, see how he's moving defensively, and I'll check back with you at our next Spartan Mag Live over at the Final Forum message board at SpartanMag.com. Once again, my name is Jim Comparoni, publisher of SpartanMag.com. So what is SpartanMag.com? It is the On3 Network Michigan State site, and over at SpartanMag.com Underground Bunker message board. I invite Michigan State fans to post any questions they have, and we entertain those questions here, mailbag style. and we field those questions here. We appreciate those questions over at the Underground Bunker message board, which is the church of what's happening now with Michigan State sports. It is the daily narrative on Michigan State sports. Go to the Underground Bunker message board, talking about Michigan State all the time. SpartanMag.com, check it out. So anyway, Moneyball, I wanted to go see Simon Zabala, the transfer from Longwood, 6'11". Also Frankie Fiddler, transfer from Omaha. And Kurtang played that night also, incoming freshman. So I was watching those guys closely. Zabala was a little bit of a mixed bag. You know, he's still trying to find his way over the program. And he's a skilled face-up guy. How much freedom he'll have to do that at Michigan State remains to be seen. But he's got skill with either hand, with some back-to-the-basket moves. Runs the court okay. So there's tools there. Needs to show that he's got some endurance, some intensity. He's a little bit of a late leaper. He's not a guy that's going to be dominating the glass and so forth. But can he be as physically as strong as Sissoko was last year? Probably not. More skilled? Probably so. You would hope so. At the end of the day, would they have liked to have kept Sissoko? There's different indications on that, but I heard in the late going that Michigan State did want to try to keep him. But Zabala comes in, and there's some optimism that they can help develop him as a late-blooming guy into his early 20s for 1 year at Michigan State. So we'll be watching him throughout the summer for more opinions on him. You know, I've not seen Jackson Kohler yet. I know that he's gotten into better shape. I look forward to seeing him. Last year, I thought that he was moving better laterally on defense, which was the key to get him to get more playing time at Michigan State, whether he could play ball screen defense and move laterally. That was better last summer. Then he was injured, so we didn't see it a lot during the season. I look forward to seeing how he's moving this summer. We'll get back to you on that. Frankie Fiddler coming in. he's got a good feel for the game, good handles, smooth skills. But remember, he was a 35% shooter from three-point range, which is pretty good, but not great. Do not expect him to be Bryn Forbes, okay? Don't expect him to be Dalton Connect or Marcus Domask. He's pretty good. He's going to help, and he's got a good feel for the game, and he's entertaining to watch. We'll be watching him throughout the summer as well. Kurtang surprised me a little bit. He was physically stronger than I anticipated, and he's strong for a freshman. Good ball handler, good in-between game. You can see some of the video going on right here, and we'll leave that up for the next, I guess for the rest of the show. We got about 5 more minutes of that video. There's Kurtang shooting right there. I've not seen Jace Richardson yet. Loved his high school film. I think he's an excellent combo guard who's got some point guard ability, good passer, good athlete, good shooting ability. Looking forward to seeing Richardson as well. All right, question number 3, Nolan from Grand Rapids. We'll go a little deeper with this one, and before I get to that one, let's go over here to the comments area. We got JR, we got Rob South checking in quickly. Rob South has always been is a perennial starter for us in the old days here among the top 5. Haven't seen him lately, but he's back here first. Appreciate him. He's running the point. Kylan 45 says, let's go. Smoke Screen says 88. Still haven't fixed the audio. So is the audio bad? I did a test before we went on the air. I did a test about 30 minutes ago. Is it still jumbled up? Still echoing. Crap. Don't know why that is. Very disappointed to hear that. Very disappointed to hear that. Not sure why it is. I did a recording. You know what? Maybe I just need to record them because the recording was better. But when we turned it on with Ecamm Live here, it's echoing, and I'm really ticked off to hear that. I apologize. So we'll keep working on that. And I might shut this one down and do question number 3 separately, record it, and post it that way, and it won't be live. Question 3, I've got some more. I go in depth on that one. So this is disappointing. I ran a test, and it's echoing a lot. Let's see. This guy says it's working. I know it's working, but last time we did this, about a week and a half ago, there was an echo, and it sounded kind of garbled. And Jared Jr. says it's still echoing like it did last time. Let me test this. I mean, let me see here for the audio. Well, I might just switch to the laptop for the rest of this one. So it's not echoing, but it sounds a bit off. Yeah, I guess I'll leave it on. I might, well, sounds bad. All right, let me go to, I'm just going to SpartanMag. So I'm gonna pause here and wait to hear whether we're back on the air or not. Let me know if it is. Yeah, the sound wasn't perfect, but functional for sure. Unfrozen now. So it looks like it's not frozen. So you're back. Okay, let's go. Question is Nolan from Grand Rapids. I'll repeat the question. He asks, what's your take on the current defensive line picture? Also, he says, Did you scout much of Oregon State's defense? And if so, what is your impression of defensive line coach Lengy Suainoa? All right, let me get into that in a moment. But first, let me send out a Twitter. I want to send out a tweet or an X, if you will, a message to let people know that this is here. All right. Okay, what's your take on the current defensive line recruiting picture? And did you scout much of Oregon State's defense? Oregon State's defense, the structure as a whole, not much, because Michigan State brought in new defensive coordinator, did not bring the coordinator with them from Corvallis. Rossi's the new coach, Joe Rossi, coming in from Minnesota, who I think is going to do a real good job. It's going to take a while. Lengy, at Oregon State, he's really well liked by the players. High energy guy in practice, high energy guy at the recruiting camps. A guy that really connects with players. You can tell he's a very sincere person. I like him. What they did at Oregon State, and how it meshes with Minnesota. Minnesota's mainly a one-gapping team. They'll do some two-gapping, but mainly one-gapping. So what they did last year, I think they were, I didn't watch much of Oregon State defensive. I watched them, but once it became known the defense coordinator was changing, I didn't watch it as much. And if I watched to see what they were doing technique-wise in the defensive line, I've forgotten it by now. So the spring game was probably a better indication of that. And I'm bullish on him as defensive line coach. Michigan State's been changing defensive line coaches like cartons of milk over the last 5 years. Was it 5 different defensive line coaches in 5 years? 4 in 4 years, something like that. So Lengy's going to be here. If you're a Michigan State fan, you're hoping for the long haul. And I think he's going to do well recruiting-wise. I think he's going to open up some West Coast options. We saw that in last year's recruiting class. And we've seen that with some of the offers that have gone out there. I think you're going to see Michigan State do well with Polynesian players. That's Coach Lengy has a lot of contacts there. Did at Oregon State as well. That includes Kiki Burnett coming in and Ben Roberts transferred in from Oregon. So I'm bullish on him as a defensive line coach. As far as recruiting goes, in 2024, this last class, their first class under Jonathan Smith, they signed KK Burnett from Hawaii, 6'2", 235, number 6 player in Hawaii. Looking at him, the film, it's hard to get good film on him. It's kind of shaky and it's at the ground level. I don't have a great read on what he's all about, but some of the highlights, he's slippery. He's pretty quick with an arm over move. He really likes the arm over move. One time I saw him go, rip and arm over, and he did it quickly. At 235, he's listed at 235. He looks bigger than that. If he's really 235, he's got some good shock and control to him at only 235. Can he run the hoop? If you're going to be smallish, you better run the hoop really well. The film is not extensive. I didn't see that part of it. So we'll see what he becomes. I'll have to wait and see on him. Mike Schunbieler is a guy they got late in the process from Chicago Simeon. 6'3", 275, number 43 player in Illinois. He's another guy with a good arm over move, violent hands, good speed swipe with him, good change of direction in space. A guy that's not ranked real high, a guy they got in late. I think I got some video of him right here. Here's Mike Schunbieler. So I think he's got some ability at 275 to maybe move inside like a Joel Heath type of guy, but has some change of direction, has some strength to him. I think that's a good player to get late in the game. They tried to get some others. They tried to flip the kid from Ohio that was committed to Pitt, didn't come through, but in a short period of time, pretty solid, I thought. Now they had to go heavy with transfers. Taquan Dowse coming in from Georgia Tech. I thought he was lively in the spring game, a little better than I anticipated. Had 20 starts at Georgia Tech. That guy's got some some experience, and they needed him, of course, with Simeon Barrow leaving and Derek Harmon leaving. We didn't know at the time that Barrow and Harmon were going to be leaving. Michigan State had an idea that Barrow could be leaving, so they went heavy into the portal. Harmon got away. That's disappointing, but that's the way things are with Michigan State right now and NIL and how they're trying to build the program. Now, as far as other transfers, Quindarius Duggan coming in from Middle Tennessee State. I think he's going to be an impact player as a defensive end. He was good in the spring showcase. What was he, second team all-conference at Middle Tennessee State? In the American, solid defensive end, good one. Ben Roberts probably was going to start at Oregon. Harmon went out there. Roberts comes back to Michigan State. Not comes back to Michigan State, comes to Michigan State. Almost like a player trade. Roberts, you get, 3 years with him maybe? He's got 3 years of eligibility. Would I trade Simeon Barrow right now for Ben Roberts? 1 year of Simeon Barrow, 3 years of Ben Roberts? I think I might make that trade. And Simeon Barrow, good guy, wish him well. How much tread does he have on his tires? He was getting worn down athletically, physically. I hope for the best for him at Miami. But I think I'd make that trade. I watched Ben Roberts in the Oregon spring game. Might have to go back over more of that to have a stronger opinion on that, but I think I'd make that trade. For Harmon, maybe not. For Barrow, maybe so. And the other one's Ruquan Buckley coming in from Nebraska, 6'6", 280, originally from Godwin Heights. He's a guy that kind of helps fill out the depth chart. Same thing with Tyler Gillison coming in from Cincinnati, Pickerington, Ohio. I've not watched Gillison yet, so I don't have an opinion on him, but probably a depth guy is what I'm anticipating there. Now, as far as, let's just take a deep dive into defensive line recruiting. You're asking about that. 2023, Mel Tucker's last class, they brought in By Job and had to pay for him. Andrew DePape came in. I told you that he was a high maintenance guy. Each of those guys played 11 snaps for the entire season, and they moved on. By Job, I can't even remember where they've gone. But Job has talent, takeoff, still learning to play with pads, was a developmental guy. You pay a freshman once, you're going to have to pay him again and again and again. And just wasn't smart money to make a run at him. DePape, high maintenance, a lot of talent. Wish him well. Jalen Thompson was the 4-star at Cass Tech. Turned out to be better than both of those guys. Jalen Thompson's junior film at Cass Tech was okay. His senior film was better. And then he got better even more so as a freshman at Michigan State. His slope of improvement is impressive. He's an impressive young man. Bright future for Jalen Thompson. If you're a Michigan State fan, you hope he hangs around at Michigan State his whole career. I suspect he will. Seems to have that kind of personality and type of guy that's going to be a leader in the future, I would think. So Thompson, that was Tucker's last class. He was the keeper out of those three. And that that year they brought in transfers. Tunmise Adeleye, I wish him well, but there was a lot of hype there star-wise based on very, very little. And I'm not sure how much film Michigan State even looked at him when they brought him in, to be honest. Because there was no senior film of him in high school. Because of the COVID year, his team did not have a season. So it was off his junior film. And he had star rankings, and he was committed to Ohio State for a little bit, then A&M. And he was a 4-star guy, which the previous staff, some of them, not all of them, but some of them were enamored with that. They thought bringing a bunch of 4-stars like Georgia and Alabama pretty soon will be Georgia and Alabama. Anyway. So Tunmise did not have senior film in high school. Then he redshirted at A&M, so there's no film of him there. And then as a redshirt freshman at A&M, he played 2 games. So there's basically, and he became injured. He played against, I think, App State and Sam Houston State. And that's all and he didn't, I think he might have started one of those games, might have played 20 snaps. There's probably about 40 snaps of him to watch. I watched him and I was like, well, I don't know. And then spring game, he may have had like 1 or 2 plays in the spring game that kind of showed something. But the 4-star hype, I didn't hype him up if you follow SpartanMag.com. I didn't close the door on him, but anyway. Dre Butler coming in from Liberty, I wasn't high on him, and he played a short period of time and looked pretty good in 2 games and then became injured. Now he's at Charlotte. They could probably use him right now. I was pleasantly surprised with Dre Butler last year. Ken Taylor came in from Penn State, played a little bit late in the year as a defensive tackle. Um, Had a couple loud moments in one of the scrimmages that was closed this spring, defensive end, so keep an eye on him. Jared Jackson, I didn't expect much from him coming in from Florida State last year. What he played 5 snaps, was not in great shape. I never hyped him up. Jalen Sami, Sami was like honorable mention All Pac-12 in 2020 or something like that, or 2021. Last year, I looked at his 2022 film, didn't see much. I'm like, what am I missing? I went back and watched 2021. It was okay. Last year at Michigan State, he was injured quite a bit. He might have had 1 or 2 games where he had a few snaps. And then he got in good shape for Pro Day and looked a little bit better that day. But, Tucker was hyping him up, saying that they ran to get him once he was in the portal. I looked at his film at Colorado and was just a guy. Wish him well. But anyway, that's what I was saying last year. So it's not revisionist stuff. 22, recruited Zion Young. That was a keeper from Atlanta. Had a good freshman year. Last year was okay. Michigan State wanted to keep him. He wanted to stay. Missouri offered him a lot of money. And he very tearfully left Michigan State from what I heard. But that's part of where Michigan State is in the rebuild. But that was a good evaluation there by Tucker and his staff. Defensive tackle Alex Van Zumeren, 4-star, Essexville Garber. Had been committed to Michigan. Quick in the T-shirt camps. Dominant at Essexville Garber against suspect competition. Played 4 games as a true freshman. Shut it down. Retained freshman eligibility. Last year injured all season. Didn't see him in the spring. Still rehabbing. See him around a lot. He's over there in the building a lot and working. I'll be curious to see what he looks like this season. I really don't know what to expect. Saw him as just a young puppy for 4 games in 2021 or 2022. He's got some quickness. Does not have the longest levers. What kind of strength has he built up since then? Really not sure what to expect there, but could end up being a plus in the program. Remains to be seen. James Schott, defensive end, Center Grove High School, Greenwood, Indiana. Keeps making bits and pieces of progress there, but kind of a depth guy. Played a few snaps in the showcase. Let me see what my notes were on him. There wasn't much. I'm a little bit impressed that he's still around. With the way players are leaving the program. He just played a handful of snaps. I don't have any extensive notes on him. Let's see here. I didn't see like a real big jump, but he's still around. To give him credit. I talked to his high school coach when Michigan State was recruiting their quarterback a few weeks ago, and he thinks he's on the verge of making a jump, but I'll believe that when I see it. I really liked his junior film initially with the quickness, and I think the offer came from 2 defensive line coaches ago. But I think his junior film was sped up a little bit when I looked at it. And I don't know if Huddle does that or if sometimes in the production process it inadvertently gets sped up. But sometimes some of those, they're not as quick as they actually look. But anyway, Schott, I've not done the depth chart preview on him yet, but I assume he'll be 2nd or 3rd string. I'm not sure. But anyway, he was in that class. Also, Chase Carter from Minneapolis lasted a few weeks, transferred out, and then transfers in Chris Bogle, who's going to be around again this year, and was okay in the scrimmage. Is his best football still ahead of him? That's something he needs to show. He's a veteran. He'll have a chance to start this year. And I thought he was okay in the scrimmage, not great. I think he made the mistake on a stunt that resulted in Nathan Carter's 48-yard touchdown in the spring scrimmage. So Bogle's still around for that year. 2021, Derek Harmon, we were high on him, and he was ranked like the number 28 player in the state. I was like, are you crazy? Now, he had some bad weight to him, but he had a lot of weight. He's a rotund guy at 6'3", dancing bear footwork. I'm like, and I said it back then, there had been very few defensive tackles in the state of Michigan in the previous 15 years that had his kind of feet and size. Very few, which makes them a rare earth commodity, which made him someone that Oregon paid a lot of money to jump ship. Number 28 in the state. There's no reason to rank a bunch of 5'9" receivers and DBs ahead of a guy like that. That's what I was saying back then. He had some work to do. We didn't know how driven he was going to be, but he had a lot Had a lot to work with. Turns out he was driven. Got himself in a better shape. He's been a good college football player with a chance to be a very good one, still working on it. So Harmon was in there as the guy that we liked. Tyson Watson from Warren Mott. He's been around town a little bit. I can't remember where he transferred to. He was kind of limited, and I'm not sure he loved the coaching staff, the previous coaching staff, when he was here. I'll leave it at that for now. Alex Okello, remember him from Nashville? That guy's film was like Sasquatch. There was no film of him. Edge guy, I don't know. Pass rusher project, I don't know. He was here for a couple of weeks, and gone. And also that year, in terms of transfers, they brought in Drew Jordan from Duke. Remember him? Played a little bit. He was a body. And then Tank Brown, 4-star from Minnesota. All right, so he's from St. Louis, goes to Minnesota, wants to transfer out. Minnesota had some good defenses, but if Minnesota's in position to let a 4-star get away into the portal, I had my questions about that. Came here, was involved in the tunnel fight at Michigan Stadium. A little unsavory, I'll leave it at that. But, hey, he was a 4-star, so he fit the shirt. All right. The year before that was 2020, Mark D'Antonio's last class at Michigan State. Simeon Barrow, brought him in. He was good right away. That was a really good talent evaluation out of Georgia. Under-recruited, underrated. Avery Dunn was seen as kind of a late bloomer out of Shaker Heights, Ohio. He's still in the program. He gets a little bit better here and there, but he might be hitting his ceiling. We'll see if he's in the playing group this year. He's been in the playing group the last couple of years. Has had some starts. Solid body. He's a guy. Jeff Pietrowski was a true freshman that played right away. And I don't know what he did at Wisconsin. I meant to do that during rehearsals to see what his stats were last year. I'm not sure he's playing a lot. I looked it up during the season. Didn't see him doing a lot. But Pietrowski played right away for Tucker. They liked him. He transferred out, went to Wisconsin, which was kind of a red flag a little bit because he was kind of a starter. And, his decision to leave to go with Tressel and those guys to Wisconsin, a little bit of a red flag for the program, and wasn't good news at the time for Michigan State. You want to keep those guys in the program, keep developing them, especially a young guy that plays early and a guy that had such a great reputation as a hard worker. But kind of a lower level recruit, was not a miss. Ohio evaluation there. The guy that I liked in that class turned out to be semi-wrong, was Kyle King out of Greenfield, Indiana. He's now at Ball State, 6'4", 275. I liked his film. I liked the way he could turn the corner. I thought he had some combativeness to him. I thought that he was going to have that immediate impact that Pietrowski had. And I'm not saying Pietrowski was great, but he helped right away. I thought that'd be King. Turned out as Pietrowski. Then they both left. King's doing okay at Ball State. He might start this year. He's had a couple of starts in his career. Not great, but he's solid. The other one in that class, they signed 5 defensive linemen that year, D'Antonio's last class. Barrow, Dunn, Pietrowski, King, and Josiah Robinson from Groveport, Madison. He didn't last long with Tucker. He was gone within a couple of months. Now he's at East Carolina, not playing very much. As far as King had 2.5 sacks 2 years ago and could start this year, Kyle King. So although I was high on him, I'm not going to say I was wrong. I thought that he could be a guy that could play the college level. Maybe not. I thought he was a dark horse to keep an eye on. So that's the recruiting past. And you're asking me about. So I mean, Tucker. They didn't recruit a lot of defensive tackles. They went to the portal all the time to get defensive tackles. They got Van Sumeren after he decommitted from Michigan after his brother left. Other than that, defensive tackle position, not much. That's why Michigan State's had to go to the portal so much for defensive tackles. Harmon was one. They were smart enough to get him. And that was okay. As far as right now, Michigan State commitments, Derek Simmons out of Frankenmuth, Cal Thrush out of Columbus, Ohio, Upper Arlington. I think both guys are solid. I can see why Michigan State likes both of those guys. Derek Simmons, 6'3", 270, Frankenmuth, number 22 player in the state. Again, if you're a defensive tackle who's got some capabilities, and I think he does, we saw during, all you have to do is look at the transfer portal and how valuable defensive tackles are and were in the spring. Brian Kelly was talking about that at LSU. They wanted to get defensive tackles. They got into the market. They got outbid. They didn't get the ones that they wanted. Defensive tackles are premium commodity. Rare earth commodity. So if they're that important in the portal, I think the importance of defensive tackles is underrated in recruiting rankings. Derek Simmons, to me, if you can play defensive tackle, we need those no matter what the program is. And I think that Simmons looks pretty good. To me, that's a top 10 player in the state, just because of what I said. There's some pretty good players in the top 10, but some of those top 20, some of those DBs and wide receivers, dime a dozen, okay, are the difference makers? I don't know. Give me the defensive tackle. Derek Simmons, not a guy you want to let get away and out of your state that wants to be a Spartan. I want all the capable in-state defensive tackles I can find. Derek Simmons, excellent build, long arms, and he can pop his hips through contact, changes directions athletically and comfortably. Looks like he plays with power, but it's hard to know for sure because the level of competition at Frankenmuth is not great. Nothing against them. Nothing against them. I think my alma mater is playing Frankenmuth this year. I'm going to go check that out. Has some power, keeps his feet moving through contact. Again, got to wonder about the competition there, but looks pretty good to me. Uses his hands well to defeat blocks, can move his feet laterally. I like him. And on the offensive line, Derek Simmons from Frankenmuth, moves really well as a pulling lineman. I think that Simmons could be a Big Ten offensive line recruit at the Big Ten level, not just the MAC level. I think he could be a Big Ten offensive line recruit. They're not recruiting him as an offensive lineman. I'm just saying I think he's pretty good both ways. But he's more valuable as a defensive tackle prospect. I like him. Keeper. Cal Thrush. I was surprised when I watched his film. 6'4", 230. Might be heavier than that now. Upper Arlington High School. Defensive. He's listed as a defensive end. Looks to me like a future defensive tackle type. Matt Dorsey commented about this over at SpartanMag.com, Underground Bunker. And he said the exact same thing I said, and we hadn't talked about it. Who did he mention? Did he mention Pickleman? Who's the defensive tackle he compared him to? See, Pickleman was a linebacker at Marshall. Was it Marshall? In high school. Thrush is a defensive end. I compare him more to Tyler Hoover, not as tall, not as thin, because Hoover was a defensive lineman in high school. But Pickleman might be a little bit better comparison. I was surprised by his film. I mean, he's still a no-star for on 3. Once they look at his film, probably be a 3-star. I don't know. Good frame at 6'4", 230. Good strength. Good ankle flexibility. Can turn the corner and hip flexibility. At 6'4", 230, with that kind of size, who's got that slipperiness, that reminds me of Marcus Rush a little bit. Not as quick as Marcus Rush. But Marcus Rush, just kept starting and getting TFLs and TFLs and TFLs. He had that hip flex. So did Drew Beasley. Came in as a walk-on. Cal Thrush has a chance to be a defensive end because he's got that ability to turn the corner. Reminds me of Tyler Hoover a little bit. Hoover had a little bit of that, but he had the frame, not quite the ability to turn the corner. So they put weight onto Hoover, and over the course of 36 months, turned him into defensive tackle. And by the time 2013 hit, boom, that was a 4-star recruit that all of a sudden was a good, solid defensive tackle that they had to have that Rose Bowl season that year, Tyler Hoover. Thrush has smart, strong hands, upper body quickness, can cross your face, put a shoulder club on you, beat you, and keep you beaten. Arm over. Solid. Well coached, Ohio, as you would expect. I've not heard anything about the possibility from coaches or from him or from his high school coaches about the possibility of him becoming a defensive tackle later in his career. I'm just saying he has that kind of frame and some of that natural strength that appears to me, talking about Cal Thrush, and plus some quickness and lower body flexibility and upper body quickness. I think it's a very intriguing possibility. It's a possible defensive tackle. And we just mentioned how important defensive tackles are. I think this guy could do it, but he might stick a defensive end also. Cal Thrush, this is a compliment. Reminds me of some of those burly, corn-fed Iowa Hawkeye defensive tackles that are just kind of strong and quick, and you're like, where'd that go? That guy's a pain in the rear type of guy. I don't rule out defensive end, but Cal Thrush, keeper. No star. Keeper. So that's what I have to say about him. Now, Bobby Kanka at Howell, I like him a lot. He is a legit 4-star. And when it started looking like Michigan was slow playing him and letting him get away, and Michigan State got him in for a visit, Michigan State was making some progress with him. I looked at his film. I'm like, man, Michigan's crazy to let that guy get away. That guy's a defensive tackle. That guy's good. And Michigan came to their senses and kept him. It looks like he's going to end up going there. Good luck to him. Just make sure that what they're telling you about academics they're actually going to let you major in what they tell you you're going to major in. Because that's been a bait and switch there for a long time. So, as far as others around the state of Michigan, Xavier Newsom, and they're going to recruit outside of the state of Michigan, but just looking at Michigan firstly, Xavier Newsom, Detroit King, number 8 player in the state, 6'5", 220. Good straight line speed. I watched him closely at the Sound Mind camp. I've watched his film. Athletic straight line speed. Not an edge bender. He's not a guy that bends the hoop all that well. And if you're going to be a 6'5", 220-pound, thinnish defensive end, now he can add some strength later and so forth, but does not have that natural turn the corner. So I can kind of see the hesitancy there. But you're hearing that Michigan's in there, Penn State and some others. Wish him well. I thought he was going to be at Michigan State's camp. Didn't happen, but good kid. I wish him well. I'm just talking about him as a prospect. I've not looked at Willie Fletcher. Willie Fletcher, Detroit King. He's ranked up there high in the state of Michigan. Rashad Jones from Belleville's committed to Purdue. I've not looked at him yet. I will at some point. Mason Main out of Lawton, Michigan, committed to Northwestern. I've not looked at him yet. These guys are ranked higher than Simmons. So I don't know. I can't dispute it because I've not looked at those guys yet. But I can see where some of those others are not, they don't check all the boxes. As far as visitors go, Michigan State had a visit from Brad Fitzgibbon out of Chicago Marist. I liked him. Committed to Iowa. Hold on, let me look up what I had on him. Yeah, I don't have extensive notes on him, but I liked him. I mean, Iowa likes him. I'm not surprised. Seems like I had notes on him somewhere. All right, here we go. I compared him to a classic Iowa-type defensive tackle also, and that's where he ended up going. He's the type of guy that ends up becoming like an all Big Ten guy at Iowa. And Michigan State's trying to do that at their own place now. Ranked number 22 in Illinois. And the state of Illinois produces D linemen. State of Illinois produces defensive tackles, defensive ends. He's a classic 3-star Iowa-type defensive tackle who becomes all Big Ten later. The clips that I've seen, he's tough, he's rotund, he's a battler, quick, uses his hands well, plays low. Fitzgibbon would have been a good one for this class for Michigan State, goes to Iowa, can't blame him. I said back then before he committed to Michigan State, or before he committed to Iowa, that I would have him in the top 10 in the state of Michigan, and he's number 22 in Iowa. Again, people underrate defensive tackles. Fitzgibbon is one who got away. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that he wasn't that good. He was pretty good. Who was the other guy committed not long ago that I thought was just kind of okay? Not as good as that. Who was it? Is it someone who's getting away? I think it's someone who's in the process of getting away. Someone can mention it to me if they've been on the message board. They know who I'm talking about. So others that have visited, there's Micah Newton. Newton is from Newberry, Florida. He's trending toward North Carolina State. He's an edge guy. Defensive end Sherrod Henderson from Rocky Point, North Carolina, committed to Virginia Tech. So we'll wait for this to reset now. Coming, the June recruiting period has ended. We'll wait for the reset as they look for more defensive ends and edge guys going forward. And they'll be in on some other ones based on high school film. And keep an eye on some West Coast guys. And Coach Lange getting in on some others as that moves forward. They tried to get on the kid from Howell. I thought he was good. I thought Fitzgibbon was good. Not a lot of reaches there, but there'll be more at the edge and defensive end positions moving forward. Probably one more defensive tackle, too. We'll keep an eye on that over at SpartanMag.com. Give us a like here at the channel. Go to SpartanMag.com, become a subscriber. Let's go through the comments here real quick, see what I'm missing. Matthew Johnson's in the starting lineup. I think that's his first time. Nice rack. Looks like he's got, about an 8-point, 10-point. Good for you. Smokescreen 88. Sorry about the audio. We changed it halfway through. HM Hunter says, go green. Bill Hushin says, hi, Jim. What does the board look like for defensive line? What are your thoughts on the D-line commits? I think you might have posted that question. We got to that one just now. I didn't know you were going to ask that, but good. Went through it. But I'll have to talk to Jason a little bit. Jason had that story today about the June visits and what's on tap. So, and what's become of those players. You can go check that out. But that's going to reset, and we'll see what happens here in the future at defensive line. Moving forward, very important part of the team and the program, no question. Kenneth saying hello from downriver. Rosalind Russell says, let's go. Ben Cheese says, I can't take another losing season. I'm with you, Ben. Good luck to you on that. LFG is here. JR Jr.'s here. LFG says, Jim, I saw then young Mark Mester, June 1980, at a Little League baseball field in Heartland, not at High White in Highland. Thank you for the clarification. Johnny O says, we talked about that in the last podcast. That's a little aside between he and I. We were in the same Little League, different eras. Back in the old days in the Milford area. Johnny O says, Jim, Smith and staff seem to be well regarded for player development. How long will that take to show up as evidenced by wins on the field? Good question. Now, that's a deep dive. You know, it took 3 or 4 years at Oregon State. So wins, I think they win 6 this year, maybe 7. Can always surprise and win more than that. But it's going to take a couple years, 2-3 years. LFG says, when does summer camp start for Sparty? It's got to be, and I'm not offended when, you know, I'm not a pom-pom waver as it is, but when people call Michigan State Sparty, that used to be like offensive back 20 years ago because of Greg Henson. Craig with 3 G's Henson. Nothing against Greg, good broadcaster. Some of you may hate him if you're a Michigan State fan for the Detroit area, but I've met him. Good guy, doing what he can. I don't judge. I think he's, but anyway, he kind of used to make fun of Michigan State fans by calling them Sparty, and he was kind of derisive about it. So there's a lot of Michigan State fans, especially in Southeast Michigan, that were subject to that 15, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and some of that has dissipated as time has gone on. And you'll hear people talk about Sparty, like ESPN people nationally, and they don't mean it in a demeaning way, nor should it be in a demeaning way. When you talk about Wisconsin, you talk about Bucky, what's wrong with that? Nothing. Talk about Michigan State, talk about Sparty, what's wrong with that? Nothing. So those of you in Southeast Michigan that take offense to that, get over it, own it, it's fine. LFG says, when does summer camp start for Sparty? Also, Sparty's kind of a badass, if you haven't noticed. It's not a bad thing, if I can use some semi-foul language. And yes, that is foul language in my book. Now, off the air, I've been known to say bad words when I step on a Lego or something like that. Not proud of it. Working on it. But in this type of medium, especially when, you know, I'm not just representing myself, but SpartanMag.com. Try to keep it a little bit respectable, somewhat professional. Big Ten Media Days they begin the week of July 24th, so I would imagine practice is going to be starting right around there. First game is August 30th. Usually, it used to be you get 4 weeks. That would be 5 weeks. So maybe practice doesn't start till the following week. Okay, so I don't know the exact date when it starts. Then we talked about the microphone here for a minute. Looking through the questions here. Bye, Job went to Kansas. Thank you. DePape went to Indiana. Thank you. Whitey Sparty says Tucker was lazy. He only looked at star ratings when recruiting. And I'm not sure how much, you know, Mel Tucker was good to Spartan Mag, and I respect him for that, and I got along with him as a person. He's fun to be around, okay? But recruiting, came in, talked about being a relentless recruiter, and that was the case during COVID when everybody was locked in their offices. They worked hard there for the first year, then the second year, and then it dissipated. It dissipated in a lot of ways. And how much evaluation was actually being done, I don't know. When I would talk to Mel Tucker about some transfers that were coming in, yeah, I'm not sure how much evaluation was taking place. And I don't know. And, a lot of it was delegated to, what was the guy's name? I forgot his name already. The guy that came from Wisconsin that was the general manager there for a year or two. I don't know. It just, it's not the way, all these programs, I mean, you've got to be on it. You talk about relentlessness. It's got to be relentless all the time. All the time. And you can't have any flat tires. And they were changing course. I don't know. It just didn't work out. The roster is not terrible, but then you lose a lot of players. And then the culture, you know what happened. But the current staff inherited some players. Others have been moved out. It's going to take a while. But they've got some pieces to work with. MSU Detroit fan says Harold Joyner was rated higher than Kenneth Walker in the 2021 transfer portal rankings. And look what happened there. Great point. Joyner, wish him well, 4-star Auburn. Amazing athlete, but just never quite found a role on a football field, which still surprises me. I thought his hands were okay. He worked out as a tight end at Pro Day. That's his position. I don't know. MSU fan says, yeah, Garber might have Frankenmuth on their schedule, but they still play Bridgeport, Hemlock, and Alma, but not Midland, Dow, Bay City Central. $5 Thomas says, do you think the next Hooper to crack the NBA is a recent graduate or someone currently on the team? Man, that's a great question, too. I've given up on trying to figure out who's in the NBA after the Max Christie situation. Max Christie was a shooter, came in as a freshman, didn't shoot well, 31% from 3, goes pro early. I'm like, how can someone go pro early when their main attribute is shooting, and they did not demonstrate the ability to shoot consistently at the college level as a freshman? You go pro, get drafted second round, pretty good contract. He shot decently in the NBA. Then he gets another huge contract. What, $8 million a year? Is that what it is? $4 million a year, something like that. Good for him, but I give up because that guy couldn't shoot in college, and he's shooting in the elite pro league of the planet outside of soccer. So good for him, but I give up on trying to figure that crap out. You have a mediocre substandard freshman year, turn pro early, and it works out for you. I give up. I can't. Now he shot well in workouts. What's that mean? You're a good 3 o'clock shooter? Well, I don't know. Lakers took a flyer on him, and they're taking another flyer on him. So you're asking me who's going to be in the. I thought that Aaron Harris had a chance to maybe do it, or I'm sorry, Aaron Henry. He kind of he was kind of. He didn't check all the boxes either, but he could jump and he had some strength. So the next one, dude, I don't know. Next NBA player. And Tillman, credit to Xavier Tillman carving out a nice career and re-signing with the Celtics this week. Good for him. Part of a championship cog there. What was the game? Was it game 3? He came in because the one guy was injured. He played extensive minutes, hit a three-pointer, played good defense. Played good defense on Luka, as a matter of fact, which didn't surprise me. I mean, Tillman, the way he played defense on Zion Williamson in the regional finals of 2019, they used to say in the NBA, if you can do one thing really well, you can stick in that league. And Tillman can do one thing really well, play defense, and he battles on the rebounding, and he's a good character, and all those things, and he's worked on his perimeter shooting. At Michigan State is that he tried to develop his perimeter shooting at Michigan State, worked on it, wanted to become more of a stretch 4 type of guy, worked on it, shot okay during Moneyball from deep, then early in his junior season, had a few three-pointers, a few perimeter shots, didn't shoot well, and then between he and Izzo, okay, it's not working out. Shut that down. Shut that part of your game down. Now let's work on being a team. And he put that aside, worked on the team, and that ended up being the season that was ended by COVID. Would have really loved to have seen the Cassius Winston, Xavier Tillman team get into the tournament that year. would Izzo have won his second national title, they would have been right in it. They would have been as good a chance as anybody. It's still a crapshoot. It's still a minefield. Still hard to do. But that team that didn't get a chance with as much experience as they had, it would have been something. Now, Cassius Winston had to go through a personal tragedy that day. Now, let's see. That season, of course, with his brother. I'm getting two levels here. I'm getting this one. That's not the one we want. We want this one. All right, let me know when the buffering is ready, when it's not buffering anymore. I'm just going to go ahead. All right, $5 Tommy says, I think Hauser could be the next to play in the NBA. With the way he can shoot it, trumps any defensive liability. I think his brother played 2 years in the G League before he made it to Boston. I like that $5 Tommy. I wouldn't have thought Hauser. I would have thought him last year. I thought he had a solid shot last year. Didn't work out. He's still working on his game as he heads toward his physical peak. I don't rule that out. I don't know how well he's playing right now, but I don't rule that out. But good one. In terms of others, I'd keep an eye on Jace Richardson. I'd keep an eye on Kerr Tang. Xavier Booker. I told you guys and fans to be very, very patient with him. And his high school basketball ability, he could shoot and he could run and he could jump, but knowing his way around the court was really lacking. And it was not good. And he had a long, 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 long way to go. Long way to go. And I told everybody to be patient. Many of you were. Many of you were like, well, why is he not playing more? He had more to do. The best thing about Booker, he's got his head on straight and he takes coaching. And that's a great mix for all of his skills. And he's got natural skills and natural ability. He just has to, he tried to play basketball without making contact with anybody. And he floated around and he had never set a screen before. He had never boxed anyone out for rebounding. He had a long way to go, but he's a good kid and he wants to be coached, and that's a lethal combination. I look forward to seeing what he looks like this summer and into next year. So his slope of improvement has the potential to be very good, and he will get a shot at that level in some regard. So he's going to be in that mix. YT's Party says 5 stars are the only guaranteed elite players. After that, stars don't matter much. And there's 25 stars? Yeah, about 25 5-stars nationally. JJ McKay says, wasn't by Job a 5-star? Laughing out loud, not always are stars correct. He was a 4-star. All right, I think we're about ready to wrap up. A lot of 5-star comments here. JJ McKay says that film of Simmons throwing the offensive lineman back about 5 feet was funny. Yeah, and look how small that guy was. But I agree, it's pretty good. George Page says, Comp, I agree with underrated defensive tackles. Groove Spoon says, broke my hand trying to put it through the wall after Fitzgibbon choosing Iowa became clear. Wanted him, right, Comp? That's one that got away. And we'll tell it like it is. There'll be recruits that get away that we don't think are good that end up being pretty good. But that guy was pretty good. And Iowa is good with evaluation. I think Iowa likes Cassius Shivers, the kid from Detroit. I think Michigan State does too. That's going to be an interesting one. I like him. He's got some physicality. And Michigan State's still evaluating, which I understand. Year 3 at Oregon State was when Smith started winning. talking about Sparty affectionately or not. Groovespoon says those 70s and 80s sound good as here in temperatures here in heat and humidity. Dew points is 70s come this weekend. Good on the grass. LFG sharing with us that he was born in Pontiac, Michigan. So was I. LFG, another thing that we got in common. I think I was Pontiac General Hospital. Is that what it's called, or was it St. Joe's? One of those. I don't know. So LFG, we were born in the same hospital, played in the same Little League. I don't know if that's a good thing. You guys are talking about weather. I'm just going to skip right through it. Gabe Brown is playing Summer League with the Miami Heat. Good luck to him. People talking about catfish. I think we're about ready to move on. $5 Thomas says Hall doesn't shoot nearly well enough. His mechanics look good. Look worse now than last year. Talking about Malik Hall. I've not watched Malik Hall yet in the Summer League. I thought I saw. Who's he playing for? Charlotte? I saw that he had a real nice drive and dunk. They're playing some team from China or something? Playing someone from China? Malik Hall with a nice finish, which he can do. But the shooting, I mean, that guy, I wish him well. Good guy. Last year, Malik Hall changed his shot 3 times during the season. His mechanics. By the end of the year, he's shooting pretty well. But he's seriously changed his shot. So I've not watched him this year. Maybe he's changed it again. I don't know. But he's got some ability. He's got a frame. Moves pretty good on defense. Pretty well. I think Malik Hall could and should go to Europe and make some decent money. Go over there and just be happy with it. And be happy with life. And I wish him well. Pontiac General. Born in Ingham County Medical, south side of Lansing with J.J. McKay. J.J. McKay's up in the Keweenaw now. I got my eye on the Keweenaw this summer. Don't tell anybody. YD Sparty's born in Sparrow. Good for him. Groovespoon says, hope Michigan State, if they proceed, can close with Shivers out of Detroit. Shivers is interesting. Might be underrated. He's physical. He's got some... I'm not surprised Iowa likes him. I'll put it that way. Phil Parker was watching him at the Sound Mind camp, and they like him. Hold on a second here. Cassius Shivers reminds me just a little bit of Kyrie Willis, a little bit. Okay, that's about it. We're going to wrap it up. That's it. I appreciate everybody coming in and playing along, and we've got some lovely party gifts for those of you that posted. Afternoon SpartanMag Live with no warning ahead of time that it was going to happen. It went longer than we thought. I wanted to go 3 and out and get it done. We'll try this again real soon. Appreciate everybody coming in, chiming in, having a good time. Have a good summer, everybody. Great to see you, as always. And we'll see you soon. Go over to SpartanMag.com, $1. Get you a month. You'll love it. And make sure to like the channel, subscribe, and it'll be all good. Everybody have a great day, a great July 8th, a great week. We'll see you soon. Go to SpartanMag.com. We'll see you soon. Take care.